Sky howdy, and welcome back to World Bigfoot Radio. And to all you folks that actually made it over to the TFRlive.com radio station, some of you don't seem to get that this isn't a channel on YouTube. It's a radio station. That's why if you miss it, it's like a radio show, so you missed it. So you kind of need to be there when the radio show's on. Radio show. It's not a podcast. It's not a video. It's a radio show. Okay, and onward. And yeah, William was just on the last one on Friday. Thanks to everybody that made it over there for that. I know we had a great crowd in chat. Everybody was just having a great time talking to William, asking him questions, and over there is enabled to actually allow you to post pictures. So while William was handling all the duties of talking to everybody there, I was busy posting pictures from the archives of William pictures that I have. So it was really fun. We do this, you know, I try every time I have a guest that I can get to show up and chat, we do this sort of thing, and I announce it over on my community wall on YouTube. So when you see that announcement over there, that means, oh, radio show. Okay. And no, it won't be on again. Over there, when you do the next one, we have a great time every time we do it. Blaine had a blast over there. William had fun, and Robin really had a good time when she was in there. So make sure you guys show up. So anyway, back to William. We are once again with the luminary of Texarkana, the guy that chases the skunk apes around the swamp, dodges gugwee, and occasionally might even get a picture of the Ozark Howler or a big old Bigfoot throwing a rock past his camera to set it off so they can run past it. And he's been on the show a couple times before, two-parters. So 4 previous episodes. If you haven't seen them, you're going to want to go look at those too. This episode is an update from the last time he was on, which was about a year ago. And so obviously, being that he actually goes out and does research pretty regularly, a bunch of stuff has happened. So here to get us up to date on everything that's going on down there in his area, and welcome back to the show, William Lunsford.
Thank you, Duke. I appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody that's listened to me before. I appreciate those who were with us the other night on the radio show. Again, I want to acknowledge some of those I met this year on August the 1st in Fouke at the Monster Mart. We had 15 or 20 that came by and then said, hey, man, I know who you, and I'm not aware if I met you before. And they said, man, you were on Duke's radio show. So very, very great people, very accommodating and many, many kind comments. And I was really humbled and appreciate that. And I appreciate y'all for stopping and saying that. Like I said, I'm just an Arkansas redneck, man, but this hobby I've got, it's just a hard one to break. And so I am in the woods about maybe 5 days a week, and I always try to be glad to share what I've learned. So I'm glad to be with everybody tonight, and thank y'all for listening.
I'm right with you on that one, brother, because I'm just a hickbilly from the mountains in Montana. And, you know, I get messages from people in places like Australia going, oh, I love your show. And I'm like, how in God's name do you people keep finding out I have a show? It's really great to hear that you enjoy it. You know, keep listening. I really appreciate it. I love all my viewers, and really, you know, hope you keep coming back. And, you know, don't forget to put a thumbs up on those videos. That really helps the algorithms. Let your friends know it's out there if they're not already aware of it. You know, I get new people all the time showing up going, I didn't know your channel existed, and why wasn't I informed? YouTube.
That's it.
That's why you weren't informed.
Well, man, I have been on your show, and I have gotten messages from 5 different continents since I've been doing your show, and that's the truth. The World Bigfoot Radio, actually, the name actually fits it, because I've been when I read those letters from people from Australia and people from England, people from Ireland, people even in Japan, and when I read those things, man, like I said, I'm like, golly, this is just too cool to have this kind of network that can reach so many people that enjoy the same hobbies as what we have.
Well, the thing that gets me going, brother, is exactly what you said, the same hobby we have. Because a lot of the people I get contacted from aren't somebody that just had a random encounter or maybe saw one. They're researchers, and they're all over the damn world. And they're contacting me the same kind of things over here that you're finding over there. And, you know, this is what gives us the scientific testability here. People to go on their own turf on another continent where they think they have a Bigfoot hotspot, and go, hey, check this out. Is this happening over area? Well, as it turns out, yes, and here's pictures of it. Okay, so if it was just like imaginary and stuff, there wouldn't be that uniformity and testability available for us to do anything with.
Exactly right. man, like I said, and the people we have in here listening are smart. You're not going to pull the wool over their eyes, man. They're not being cynical, but they're testing you with everything that you say, the things that you think that are things that are worthy, they're remembering. And so, like I said, if you're out there trying to pull their leg, it just ain't gonna happen. That's like trying to sneak dawn past a rooster. It's not gonna happen. You've got good people there listening to you, like I said. And the thing about them, even though they're researchers, they want to learn more. They haven't reached the conclusion, well, I know it all, so give me my own show. That's not the way it is. And so that's another reason that I'm always honored to do your show, because it keeps me on top of my game. Some of the questions I get afterwards are things that I actually put in practice whenever I get back into the field out there. I'm like, yeah, I remember him saying this. I'm going to give this a try. So like I said, it really benefits all of us. And again, that's one reason I'm so appreciative to be here.
It's really always great to have you here, brother. You're one of the leaders of the pack, and that's, we need more people, boots on the ground, butts in the field, that are actually doing the research, testing things, and seeing what they're coming up with. And, in a way, it's sad to think that there are more people that are there should be people that are way the hell ahead of us, William. Let's face it. They had a lot of time to get, out their butts out in the field and start doing the research when they weren't really doing anything other than a couple people like, Renee DeHanden and what's his face, the big game hunter, the one that's still around. I can't even think of what his name.
Me too.
Peter Byrne. Peter Byrne
yeah,
have been all over the world. They actually put their butts out in the field and go look for stuff. But, you know as well as I do, the first several decades of this, once it became publicly a thing, most of the people doing this were not researchers. They were investigators. They'd get a report. Somebody saw something here. They'd go investigate the report. They'd talk to the witness. They'd see if they could find any tracks or anything. They'd file, bing, bada, boom, done, never come back again. And exactly. Where researchers go, that's where they start. Okay, there was a sighting over here. Let me go check this area out. Are they living over here? Was it one just traveling through the area? And then their butts in the field, if there's actually around there, they're over there all the time. See, that's the difference between an investigator and researcher.
That's exactly right. And what's funny, some of them, as many years as they had, you and I discussed the other night when Bigfoot first appeared here in America. Everybody, again, is thinking it's Washington, Oregon, but it wasn't. It was actually in Georgia in 1829. The second was Arkansas in 1834. And so when you got, that's 2 years before Arkansas ever became a state. So when you had all that time right there, the research was the facts were out there, but the people just weren't researching to find it. So again, we're very lucky to live in the age of technology. I'm sure that's made it to where it's a whole lot easier. Everybody, we talk about the Native Americans and things and their acknowledgement of Bigfoot and all the different names that they had for him. Well, the funny thing about it was that the Native American tribes didn't like each other. They weren't sitting around smoking the peace pipe and saying, man, I need to tell you about this Bigfoot I saw last week. They actually were antagonistic towards each other. And the fact that they all have different names for these creatures tells of the universality of this animal and how long it's actually been along. So, but again, for anybody who's willing to share with me, man, I'm willing to listen.
There we go. Yeah, and that's, the other thing about it is that there are every tribe practically, I don't think there are any exceptions, in North America, they've got a name for a Bigfoot-like creature. And the names mostly translate to attributes of it and stuff. And they've all got sort of a little bit different take on it. Like in some places it's the boss of the mountains, and another place it's like the wild people that live in the woods, in other places, it's like, those terrifying freaking things that eat us when we're not paying attention. So even though they all had the notion of the same kind of critter, they all had different names for it because it sort of depended on what the interaction with that tribe with those critters was like, would the name, the descriptor that they'd use for it. And somebody I was telling, I've talked about this before, where tribes have like things. They're probably talking about more than one Bigfoot-like thing. And I had somebody in comments say, well, we've got different names for mountain lions. They call them mountain lion, puma, cougar. Yeah, that's across the continent, screwball. Think about it for a minute. These people are not sharing information with each other. They're talking about what's in their local area that they know about.
That's right.
Guess what? We know they're all over the U.S., and we know that pumas in one place and mountain lions in another place are the same critter. And guess what? We don't use all those names in every area. Up here in Montana, it's a mountain lion. Nobody puma. Nobody calls it a cougar. It's a mountain lion, but it's the same critter.
Yep. And here in Arkansas, they call them wampus cats. Now, who would have ever thought of a name like that? A wampus cat. So, like I said, it's the very same animal they've dealt with, their whole life, and thing about Bigfoot, they've had Bigfoot. They were being seen here and talked about. The description was the same before any of the Europeans ever came here to America. They didn't have the photographs and everything else like that, but the descriptions were so uniform. It was, as you said, it was the same creature that they were seeing, and the same attributes that they were using to use in their names were being witnessed by people, all over the continent. It's just whichever ones were more prevalent was what they tended to name their animals. So it's very, very fascinating, and find that they find that truth is actually stranger than fiction, and it is in this case right here. They knew what they were looking at, and it had nothing to do with, the fact that they were a backwards people. They were some of the smartest people we've ever seen. They knew more about the earth. They knew more about the seasons and things like that. And for their acknowledgement of Bigfoot says a whole lot about the creature.
That's how I got on the whole gugwee thing. I was doing research on the Bigfoot up on the Upper East Coast because they had the Wendigo legends intertwined with it up there. And I found this name of this other thing, and I went, well, what is this? A different Wendigo. And then I looked at it and went, no, this same tribe uses the word Wendigo too. What the hell are they talking about? They got 3 names for things here: a Bigfoot, a Wendigo, and the gugwee. Well, then I started looking at the other tribes around the neighborhood. Did any of them have more than one? Yeah, they all have more than one name. And most of them didn't. They may have been using the name Wendigo, but they were also using the word gugwee. And there's an example of that halfway across the continent. The Chippewa, Ojibwa up in northern Minnesota were using the term tugawee, and it was to describe the same damn critter. Yep. So wait a minute. These tribes aren't communicating with each other, spreading folklore halfway across the continent about things that aren't living in their area. They're talking about things that live in their area. And the oldest report that I know of on the North American continent is from 1780, Lake in the Woods, which is in Canada, north of Minnesota, where a logging crew ran into this thing that they reportedly captured and shipped down the Mississippi River. And the description does not match a Bigfoot, but it perfectly matches a gugwee, or in that area, in that case, would be a tugawee. So, when you start finding this, is like, wait, these local tribes all have a different name for this other thing. Yeah, they got a name for Bigfoot. They all got a different name for this other thing. And the description of this other thing matches just like the descriptions of the Bigfoot match to the Bigfoot.
Exactly. Like I said, these were not an ignorant people. These were very, very intelligent people. And so whenever they have that right there, it's enough to make you realize there's things out there that we probably ought to be studying rather than just trying to lump them all together. And the gugwee was one of them, because I got to see one this year firsthand on March the 1st here, and very, very different than what I had seen before in Bigfoot. But the reason this thing was, most of the Bigfoot that I have seen, they'll come in for a quick look till they can identify you, or till they realize they're being seen or looked at, and they walk away. Sometimes you have that fleeting encounter. But this gugwee set up on me behind a root system of a fallen log. And from what I talked to one of my buddies, who is coincidentally, he is a full-blood Cherokee Indian, an ex-Army Ranger, very, very intelligent man. He said, I'm glad you left because you were fixing to be supper. And, man, I'm like, that's different than what I'm used to dealing with Bigfoot. I said, Bigfoot, it's not a teddy bear.
Wait, spill the beans. What do the Cherokee know about these things that you guys haven't told us yet?
Exactly. But something he knew about that I didn't. But the fact that he shared that with me, I'm like, oh, man, good grief, So, again, like I said, these like things are things that we need to know. We just can't lump them all together. It's an interesting study all in itself there, but the things that they have the names for, and the other creatures, just like Bigfoot was here, it's the same way. There's credible evidence and credence for what they've had about these creatures, and when we study them, like I said, it's going to make us better Bigfoot researchers, and it's also going to prepare you for when if you do have an encounter like what I did. Like I said, coincidentally, I just had a little small 40 caliber pistol. 2 days later, when I went out to take 40 to 50 pictures with my buddy, I had a 45-70 rifle, because I learned that the gugwee, whenever he's out there, he wants to eat you. He's got different plans for you than what Bigfoot does. So again, like I said, that's one of those things that as we study and we find out more, we realize there's a lot more creatures. It's not just Bigfoot that's out there, man. There's some more creatures out there that we haven't discovered yet that's really gonna knock some people's socks off.
Man, if only it was just Bigfoot out there, wouldn't that make it a whole hell of a lot easier? It gets confusing because you don't know who to blame for what.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And while some of their attributes may overlap, in parallel, they're totally different than others. And if you don't have that little propensity in your mind to learn that minutia, what the difference is, and like I said, then you setting yourself up for failure, maybe more than that. So like I said, give these creatures all the credit in the world because they are the way the good Lord made them. But man, like I said, they've got tools for survival that you and I don't. We don't quite understand it. We have kind of clued into it, but we don't quite understand all of it or the makings of it all. And so that's something there that it's up to us as researchers to share with each other. If nothing else, in what we share, if people say, "Oh, you trying to get rich? You just trying to get your YouTube channel." I don't even have a YouTube channel, but what I am trying to prevent is somebody from getting hurt by one of these animals. Should something like that happen, should it be a gugwee rather than a Bigfoot? So again, that's why I feel honored for what I have learned to be able to share with other people. And again, like I said, I love when they share with me because they talk about these things being endangered species. Well, I'm an endangered species. There's one of me. There's more of them. So like I said, I want to be able to stay that way for a long time.
Yeah, my attitude's always live and let live. As long as they leave me alone, I'll leave them alone. I'm not going to go run and chase them, so please don't go run and chase me. Thank you.
Exactly.
But you go run and chase them. Bad.
Well, it's when you get caught up in the daggum moment, and you've been doing it. I've been doing it for 43 years, I think, as most everybody knows. And your sightings, you'll never know when they're going to happen. So when you have a sighting, you want to take advantage of it. This gugwee, when I ran towards him this year, he was running parallel to me, and then when he got to some brush, he stopped. But he looked at me. He was still on all fours. I'm like, man, I'm going to finish this. I was still thinking in my mind, just Bigfoot, man. All of a sudden, when he sets up and I'm running down this trail 40 yards away, I see him sitting up there, man. I put on some brakes on my tennis shoes, man, that ought to be on a daggum locomotive train. Because, I stopped on a dead penny right there. And I had my camera already out because I had been taking pictures of this other tree structure. I got those 3 pictures, and when he tilted that head and started wiggling my ears, buddy, I was gone. So hopefully he's got me memorializing his camera, too, because he won't see me doing that again, I guarantee you.
So you got a good look at this guy's flanks when he was on all fours running away from you. You didn't have any kind of a tail or anything?
I didn't see anything of a tail, but like I said, it was right at getting at twilight. It was about 5:10 to 5:15 in the evening. It was on March the 1st, so we hadn't started daylight savings time or anything else. And of course, Sulphur River, there's so much cover down there. Like I said, a lot of times at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it looks like 8 o'clock at night because of the shadow. So I wasn't able to get as good a visual. I was able to get as good a visual as I wanted. I knew there was something right there, that wanted me as bad as I wanted to see it. And whenever I did see it, like again, I said, I stopped there and got those 3 pictures, and then I took off the other way. And sometimes discretion is the better part of valor,
Yeah, survival's the better part of inquisitiveness too.
Yeah, I don't want on my tombstone in the cemetery, written, "Here lies Will, bravest man in the whole dang cemetery." That doesn't carry a whole lot for me.
Yeah, here lying the bitch slap a gugwee.
Little did he know the gugwee slaps back. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
no shit, right. Well, let's get on with it then. Let's get everybody caught up now since we last saw you and had you on the show. That had been a fairly recent encounter and experience. And then, so what's been happening with all your research since then?
Well, it's been a really good year. Started out with a really good year anyway. That I think the last time we recorded or the experience I was able to talk to you about, I just seen the big 9-footer with 4-foot wide shoulders. I call him Brownie. Man, I'm from Arkansas. If he's brown, he's Brownie. If he's black, he's Blackie. If he's got spots, his name is Spot. So I had just seen Brownie, and I had that picture where he walked by my game cam, and then right after that, my wife actually got a picture of a mother and 2 babies there in the edge of the woods. And one of the babies just sitting out there, it looks like he's singing to somebody. Real good visual of the face, real good visual of the hand. And so, like I said, that was probably about the 2nd week in April. Then I reported, we did our show and everything. And I thought, well, heck, man, this is not going to get any better than this. Well, it did, because the next week while I'm down here and I'm walking down to where she had actually taking her pictures, and my buddy Stephen Hill is with me, and so Stephen's down there actually changing the SD cards on the cameras and things, and I'm standing on a stump looking down at the edge of the woods, And man, there's a Bigfoot standing down there when I finally caught him. And he is standing down there probably 2 to 3 foot just out of the wood line. And he's just as black as the ace of spades. And we're sitting there. And like I said, I really wouldn't have noticed him. I saw him just kind of move just a little bit because he was being so still. Again, those saying hide in plain sight. Well, I saw him move just a little bit. And man, I mean, I just sit there and we went into a staring contest. And I'm standing on top of that stump. And he's down there again, rocking from one foot to the other. And I looked at Steve and I said, Stephen, we got a visitor. And he said, what? I said, we got a visitor. Well, of course, he looks back towards where we park our vehicles. I said, no, down here in the corner. I said, I'm looking at a Bigfoot. Well, I thought it was probably a 7-footer. And so we sit there for 7 to 8 minutes, man. And all of a sudden, he just took like a big step back and the woods absorbed him again, which was really cool to have that long of a sighting. Because like I said, he didn't do anything but just sit there and stare at me. And I guess, which made me feel pretty good because I realized he probably didn't think I was trying to threaten him in any way, that he might have even give me the recommendation. But anyway, I come back the next day with my son and we go back and we have a gun and we go down there and we check the footprints and stuff like that. And where he was standing was actually in a ditch. So this thing was, instead of 7 foot, was actually over 9 foot tall. Like I said, and we call that guy Blackie. And so I got to look at him. Coincidentally, about a month later, he actually I told y'all I hide my game cameras in the brush. Well, he walks by one of my game cameras and it gets a picture of him. So anyway, yeah, so it was pretty neat. So you can see the head and he looks back there towards me. He realizes the game camera's gone off and he's caught. He keeps on walking. It's an afternoon sighting. It looks, according to the camera, it's about 5:30. And so he walks on by there, then he just keeps on going. Well, like I said, I was able to when I do, I get the pictures and actually filter up the eyes. Man, you see the whites of the eyes, you see the iris and everything else like that. So, so to have that right there, I thought, man, this is just, really going to, just can't get any better than this. And again, we talked about then the camera caper that we had there, where I had the cameras out. I always put one spy camera on another camera that are taking pictures of each other. So when one comes by, if I miss him with one, I'll get him with the other. Well, as we're sitting there, I sent you the pictures. I've got the 3 cameras that are covered up, and then we have the little gold ball that has been flipped over there to see if the camera's active, whether he wants to cross, whatever his reasoning is or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, we've got the picture of that gold ball that's suspended, and it's still in the air right in front of the camera. Well, I thought, well, this will be all this. Well, just 2 weeks ago, I was sitting there and I finally got my new batteries in my camera. I've had hand surgery and foot surgery, so I wasn't able to get out much of the summer like I wanted to, but I was actually able to get out and get this, what's a spy point camera, and get this spy point camera set out there. Well, then all of a sudden I'm getting these pictures at 3:00 at night. Well, coincidentally, there's this big, beautiful buck. Man, everything on his head is 10 inches tall and very, very thick. And I'm like, oh, man, I can't wait. This is where I'm fixing to hunt. Well, man, after that, then I get another pic, and he's running off the lens there. He's running away from the lens. 20 seconds later, I get another notification. Then I get another notification, and I get another notification before I can even get the pictures pulled up. And I've got pictures of 3 rocks that are throwing past my camera, and they're actually suspended in midair, are going by my camera. The light is on them, you can see. And what I actually witnessed there was a Bigfoot hunt of a deer, of that big deer that's walking down through there. He realized they were after him because he took off. And so I'm getting these rocks going by this. So then last night when I was there, laying in bed, all of a sudden the alarm, or 2 nights ago, I'm sorry, 2 nights ago, and I get the alarm, and when it does, there's 2 rocks that are going by my camera that are flying through the air. So so that's really cool because I've got all these rocks. I've got pictures of them, and then here's camera caper number 2. So I'm kind of anxious to see how that goes, see how that finishes up. So that's one of the cool things that we had, and it kind of took a different turn, than what I thought it was going to. I thought it'd be more times he's covering up my camera. No, he's throwing the rocks at the camera. Either he wants the light to go down. I think if he's trying to hit the camera, he'd just walk over and he'd just snatch it down. So I think that's pretty funny as well. I had a good experience this year. I was able to be a speaker for the very first Ouachita Bigfoot Festival up in Mena, Arkansas. And so I was very honored to be that for the confidence that they had.
All right. Congratulations.
I appreciate that, man. To be able to share. I was with 3 other very, very good researchers in there that had a lot of Bigfoot experience and in there. And then we had Keith Crabtree was there as well with his experiences, as he was the man who played the character. of the creature in the Legend of Boggy Creek. And everybody said, well, big deal. No, not big deal. If he didn't play that to the level that he did and make it so believable, none of us may be Bigfooters right now. We just said, oh, that's just so hokey, man. We're going to go do something else. There's no way. But the way he played it was just, I mean, just top notch right off the wall there. So again, he was there. And so that was, and then we had some guys doing a tracking demonstration as far as how to do a plaster repairs and things like that. So that was a real good experience for me. I really enjoyed that. Pretty soon we got of course the Texas Bigfoot Conference coming up here next weekend, which will be in Jefferson, and so I'm looking forward to going to that and maybe picking up some knowledge. But I've got some people there that have through a results of some of these shows have said, would you be there, you know, if I would go to meet some of these people, and I'm looking forward to doing that as well. So that's been a really a benefit of doing this thing. I've investigated a couple of sightings. One man back there back during the spring, right at the end of the spring, was on his way home from work and kind of just doing what he does every day like we all do. And all of a sudden, this Bigfoot steps out of the woods, goes down into the little ditch, comes up the side of the berm, and is standing there when he's driving by. So he drives by, and man, I mean, he doesn't really know what to do. He doesn't know whether to slow down, doesn't know what to do, whether to stop. So he keeps on going. Well, finally, he goes a little bit further up there and comes back, realizes the enormity of what he has seen. So, you know, he comes back, it's not there. He goes home, and so he goes home, tells his wife, and of course, everybody's. She puts it on Facebook, which I really admire them for, because I contacted the people, and they were the kind of people that you had thought you had known all your life, just really a bunch of good people. And so I talked to his wife, and then I got to talk to him and have him tell me exactly where the sighting occurred. And coincidentally, it was about 2 miles from a place that I had researched years and years before that I had heard about while I was down there as a UPS driver. So anyway, this man is really credible, and hopefully I'm going to try to be able to convince him to come down and speak for us. So we have this Keith Crabtree Smith Park Halloween camp out coming up, and so hopefully I can get him to come down and tell his story, because he's just such a believable man. Anytime you get somebody that's credible, it helps our cause all the way around. When you realize that these people aren't nuts. This guy I never would have thought I would have seen anything. He was nearly crying when he went home and told his wife. He was hyperventilating when he went home and told his wife, and she knew him so well. She knew that he had actually seen something. So that was one encounter that I got to investigate. We haven't got to go together on scene yet as such, but that's going to be in the works, I hope. And then another man that was on September the 8th of this year, my research partner, Stephen Hill, owns a little house there just inside the edge of the city limits, and it has a 6-foot chain link fence. It has barbed wire across the top, so it's about a 7-foot fence. Well, as he's out there in the backyard, all of a sudden this thing walks by, and whenever it does, the whole head is above the 7-foot part of the fence. So he's sitting there. He doesn't know whether to move, whether to try to run, what to do. So he just stands there and watches as the thing walks on by, just like it's taking care of his business, doesn't pay him any attention, goes on. Well, he couldn't sleep or he couldn't think, so he calls Stephen, tells Stephen. Stephen tells me. I'm like, oh, man, we got to go check that out. So, again, that's right there, right inside the city limits, a little small town there in Arkansas. So that is really, on something like that right there, it's really cool, but it's also really unnerving, because as you know and I do too, these things don't read city limit signs. If there's something that they want, they don't mind coming up in your yard. They don't mind coming up in your garden. They don't mind coming up in your flower bed. So that was a real eye-opening experience right there for this to be for this thing. And it wasn't even fall when they're really more active. It was still part of the summertime. So anyway, that's going to be another one that we're going to go down and look at pretty soon. Also this year, I sent you some pictures there, down there at this place where I researched. The hogs have just taken over. And so they hired this man, contracted him to go down there. And he was down there several days when I was down there.
This is the hog assassin story. Oh, God.
Pay
attention, guys.
Yeah, this is the hog assassin story. So he comes out, and the guy this day, he lays out 5 big old porkers from 250 to 300 pounds apiece. He lays them side by side up there. The hogs are pretty nasty at that size. You really can't eat them like what you would think you could. But all you can do is just let them out there and let nature reclaim them and feed the other animals. Well, anyway, my son is down there walking his dog, and so, or his two dogs, I'm sorry. And so when he's walking the dogs, he comes up on him. He goes, "Man, you'd never believe what I saw down there by Sulphur River." So we went the next day, and when we get there, one of those hogs has been turned over on its back. It has been gutted and disemboweled, and so it's laying there. And I mean, man, it stinks. And I'm walking over to look at it and to see, and then I walk upon two tracks right there that as I'm walking up, that are really, really close to the five animals. None of the other animals appear to be touched, just this one. So we go home when we get through, after I get these pictures. We come back 2 days later and well, let's go back there and check on the hogs. Well, man, we go back, and this hog that has been rolled over and gutted and disemboweled, this hog has been picked up and carried off. It wasn't drug anywhere. There weren't any drag marks or anything else like that, because we put our shirts over our noses and walked over to see. There wasn't any drag marks. I mean, this thing was full of maggots and everything else whenever it was laying there, and it had been picked up and carried. I'm like, oh my gosh, what in the world wants to eat a hog for one thing, but what wants to eat one like that? So very, very, man, very, very imposing to know that there's animal out there that can pick this thing up that's 250 to 300 pounds, but also has no regard for the fact that it stinks and is nasty and has been laying there for a few days, and picks it up and carries it off. So that was really, really, it verified something I have been told by many, many people who've seen Bigfoot actually kill a hog or chasing hogs. And so I thought that was pretty cool to be able to see all that. So like I said, I did send pictures of it, documented, and I haven't been back there recently. Right after that was when I had my foot surgery, so that kind of put a stop towards everything else as far as that goes. But again, like I said, that picture, I got back right after that. A friend of mine had a picture of the brown Bigfoot brownie, that one that walked in front of my camera, and I couldn't get those pictures to upload off the SD card. So I had sent it to him. He's very, very good with electronics and stuff like that. And so whenever he gets the camera, gets the SD card, then he said, "Man," he said, "is there something wrong with your camera?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Well, why?" I said, "Why do you ask?" And he goes, "Because these pictures are not appearing on my computer." Well, you can tell when this picture, coincidentally, of Brownie's walking down, and you can see, and he's right there, and he's looking towards where the camera was, and you can see that almost like he zaps it. And so whenever he does, this same picture, this off this card here, almost like the other picture that I have of Brownie, the pictures will not come off the card. The data recovery people can't get it. The other man that I know there that has his own stuff could not get it. So anyway, so that's very, very strange on this same animal, but it will show up if you put it in your card reader, and you have to to get any kind of picture at all, you have to take the card reader and take a picture of that fingernail picture there. So anyway, that's crazy, but I think it's so neat that this same animal twice has zapped this camera and it's locked the pictures on there, and I have no explanation for that whatsoever. And again, like I said, the people I carried it to were some of the best data recovery people on earth. I actually said a lot of them are Russian American citizens, very, very smart, very, very productive people in this economy, and they have millions and millions of dollars of equipment and many, many hours of experience. They know what they're doing, and the fact that they couldn't get the pictures off the card, man, that says something other about the powers of this animal that we really don't understand.
Yeah, that's pretty weird. So, but you did get a copy of the thumbnail at least, so we got something to show.
Yep, I did get that copy of that thumbnail picture there. So again, I sent that to you. You'll see when you look at it, you'll see him coming down the hill there. And like I said, you see that big old brown body, and like I said, he's just kind of looking towards the camera. And then, like I said, when I go back, man, as excited as I am there, that kind of, it doesn't kill the excitement for sure. Anytime you can get a picture of Bigfoot, you better be excited of it. But that's the drawback of game cam photography sometimes. They know where my cameras are. There's no doubt about it. Even until I had that foot surgery, I had 8 cameras out in the woods, and it never failed that every time I went into the woods there to get my SD cards, at least one, and most of the time 2 of those cameras were either turned face up, face down, or thrown 30 to 40 foot. So I'd have to spend about 2 hours looking for it, I'm down here at Sulphur River Bottoms. I just got down here. It's about 4:55 in the afternoon, and you see these
tallest trees, thickest trees right here, and just as soon as I got out of my vehicle, there was a Bigfoot over there behind one tree. He stood there and looked at me for a while, had his head sticking out behind the tree. He stepped from one tree to the other. He stopped, and I moved, and when I did, he started walking back away from me from the woods. So this is going to be a strange day or a good day. One reason I think that I stopped right here, if you can see, I'm going to just give you a panoramic here through the woods right here, but you can see all these down trees. Well, these down trees are new. And on these down trees, there's actually a trail going right through there. And going through there, going underneath that bent tree that you've got right there. Then you've got 1, 2, 3 as the third bent over tree. And the fourth bent over tree right here. Again, this is right here on the trail. And these trees, I actually had a camera down here last year, down this trail. And we got some very unclear pics down here, but again, you can see through the woods, but again, I'll show you 1, 2, 3, and then 4 right here of these trees have been broken over. Again, this just saw Bigfoot just as soon as I got out. So I wanted to share this with you. I'll be bringing you more. Hopefully I can find more. I'm just now getting started looking. It's twilight, which is generally the best time of the day for me, or has been traditionally. So like I said, it could be a really good day. So I wanted to let you know, and I'll get back with everybody here in just a little bit. Still here where I just got seeing that Bigfoot about 10 minutes ago. I was hanging around hoping that he might come back through, but so far I haven't heard anything or seen anything. He started heading back. Like what they're doing, they're clear cutting down here. And so down here where they're clear cutting, I didn't even think about that until a while ago. He doesn't have much place to leave. He has to either come down here where I'm at or go towards town. He acted like he was walking back towards town, but where I saw him again, I said I want you to see, was just right through these trees right through there, and he had his head sticking out looking at me. But I'm going to show you what I've actually found right here as far as for going through. Again, here's that trail I showed y'all that has all the newly broken trees on it pushed down. And there's your trail going right through there. Well, let me just come on across the road here. And look right here. Going right underneath that bowed tree. And I want you to see this bowed tree. This bowed tree is not a normal bowed tree. Here's your bow, but up it goes right through here, but it goes around behind this tree. So not only is it bowed downward right through there, you can see all that right there, but not only is it bowed downward, but it's bowed backwards around this tree right here. So again, you can see some kind of wear and tear in there on that bark. But again, I'm sitting here waiting. Wanting to send this video to y'all right quick. I'm fixing to move on. I don't have as much time. I will be back here in at least an hour to see. But I want you to see again. Here's this trail going right through. The thing was sitting right there off that trail, and moved very, very quickly once he realized we were having a staring contest. Had my phone in my back pocket, had just put my boots on, and hadn't even been on my truck a minute and a half. So anyway, here we are, and I'll get back with you. Bill here from Texarkana. I said down here on October 13th, the day after I had that Bigfoot sighting yesterday, about 4:55 p.m. I was going to show you what has been done down here as far as the Bigfoot being down here. That he's got a trail straight through yonder way. See your trail, but look right here at this, from the ground around, up, and bent behind that tree right there, behind that limb right there. That's not going to happen normally, and you know that. Number 2, look right here, man. I've got my son, Reese. Reese is 5'11", but look at the X on this tree right here. You can see that it's not a tree that's in there. It's been jammed into the ground right there. Get up here. It crosses at about 10 foot, looks like. Crosses at 10 foot. You can see how it's laid behind the other limb. Crossed right through there. This right here has been placed here on top of this log right here. You can see that right there. So you can see that's placed. And then we're going to go to the last piece of evidence right down here that's just let you know that I wasn't just dreaming. I want you to see this tree as it comes from the ground. There's no stump there for it. It comes up, it goes in front of this one, it goes behind this one, and it comes in front of this one again, right here, all the way through. So it's, you can see this much activity. This is probably 25 foot. This much activity. You can see reach, like I said, he can probably reach close to 8 foot, and he's nowhere making any kind of, and there's the X in the background right there. He can do it with a gun. There's the X in the background. There's that U-shaped bend right over there. And then again, here's this, where the other branch of the leg.
4 steps from this.
So that's what we've had down here. So he's been busy down here decorating things the way he likes. In Texarkana in the Sulphur River bottoms, and I want to share this with you, something that I've just found here. I found what's probably the biggest A shape that I have ever found. I find this often here in these Sulphur River bottoms like this. But you can see as it runs right there, right there, to right here. The whole size of the triangle is, oh, it's probably 10 foot by 8 foot by 8 foot. Anyway, I'm going to show you this here. You can see this A shape as it goes all the way through. Sorry for the daggum shadows, but that's kind of the way it is sometimes. And there's the other part of the A right there. Cool part about this is it's around some other activity that we have over here that you can see. Again, right here in this tree structure that we're coming up on. So you can see right there how that's broken, woven, intertwined behind that tree right there, behind this tree. And again, to add to it, there's tree break right here. There's also tree break right here. And as we go back this way, you can see what used to be a part of a pine tree all the way suspended from the surface right here. It is probably at least 20 foot high. So again, let me go back over that to get away from the sunshine. And you can see this all the way up there. There's no place up there for it to have broken from and fallen to. So that's what we're looking at. So again, they knew where it was. So I kind of played a trick on them. I pulled the cameras out about 2 weeks ago. And some of them I'm going to put back in the same place, and some of them I'm not. But then I'm going to give them a chance to get used to them cameras not being there. Then whenever I set them up again, like I said, I'm going to camouflage them a little bit better. And we're going to see how that goes, see if I can have as productive a year as what I have this year. I've gotten 4 really good pics. I've got a picture of one with a beard that looks like it could be Shaggy's brother from Scooby-Doo, and he has a beard. He's got the white brow line. You can see the arm hanging down there from the side, and he's like 10 foot behind my spy point camera. I've got another there that appears to have another one walking behind him. It's not very, very clear, except you can see the head is turned, and you can see the glint coming off of the face a little bit. It's almost right at daylight there. And so I've got just 2 more pictures there that I've sent with to be able to share with everybody. But anytime I've got one there, actually a picture of Blackie that's really, I mean, he's really 4 to 5 feet away, and you can see the size of that cone head on that sucker. And what people think, oh, well, it's like the size of a basketball. No, it's the size of a 5-gallon bucket on an animal that big. It's just remarkable.
How big is Blackie? What do you guesstimate on his?
Blackie's probably, from what I saw that day watching him down there, Blackie's every bit of 9 foot, maybe a little bit bigger than 9 foot, and he'll weigh close to 1,000 pounds. Man, he was just so impressive. And again, whenever he just took like just one step back, just barely out of the way, and all of a sudden he's in the woods and you can't see him, And of course, first thing I'm doing is looking all around. Thank goodness he didn't come around that day. I'd have had first thing I had to add to my My Bigfoot hunting kit the next week would have been some extra underwear because, man, it was yeah. But man, he's probably 9 to 9.5 and better than 1,000 pounds. And so again, I thought, man, I wonder which one of those guys is going to be the dominant, which one's going to be the alpha male. But so far, I haven't seen that there's any kind of problems between those two guys. You know, that they tend to coexist. Maybe they have their own harems, you know, or whatever. Again, I went down.
Are there areas right next to each other? Do they overlap? I mean, you get them in the same area?
I get them in the same area. They kind of tend to overlap. And
you know what?
What's that?
Have you considered the possibility that neither one of them is the alpha?
You know, I did consider that, and I didn't really want to think about that. Whenever you got 2 9-foot Bigfoot and neither one of them is the alpha, there's something out there.
There's a 12-footer out there that isn't showing up on camera that's ordering these jabronis around.
That's right. And people that say, well, Bigfoot don't get to be 12 foot tall. You know, I had somebody that's supposed to be reputable in the Bigfoot community. I heard not too long ago say, well, he said anything bigger than a 16-inch track is going to be a hoax. No, and they say anything bigger than, you know, a regular 8-foot tall Bigfoot, as a rule, that's going to be a hoax. No, those first two that we mentioned earlier, they're in Milledgeville, Georgia, right there in the Okefenokee Swamp, you know, and he was about 13.5 foot. And then the one that they had here in Arkansas, their report was he was, quote, twice the size of a normal man, unquote. Well, that puts him at about 12 foot, at least 12 foot if the average man is a 6 foot, is a 6 foot man. So these creatures, like you said, whenever all of a sudden you realize that there may be a 12 or 13 footer out there. I don't know, Duke. I'll be honest with you, for all I've seen, and I've seen a bunch of them. I've been very lucky. I've got 2, I've actually got about 5 great areas, but I've got 2 great areas that produce just about any time I'm down there, at least footprints, tree knocks or something like that. But I don't know that I'm prepared to see a 13-foot Bigfoot and deal with it.
Well, just to backpedal a bit for the folks that haven't heard the 1829 story, there was 9 guys that went out in the Okefenokee. Some people, 2 people had found tracks out there, and they came back and told them, hey, we found these weird monster tracks. And the local monster hunters, all 9 of them, armed themselves to the teeth and went out there, and they were out there for days. And apparently they finally found the critters' tracks again, and they were trailing them, ran out of daylight, set up camp, and at that point the monster decided to take exception to their presence and attack. And of the 9, 5 of them were killed, 4 survived. They gunned down the monster. They made it back to town, and at this point, they got the town crier to come out, and they actually measured the monster, and he took notes and everything, and, you know, made it part of the town record. Yeah, I was there. They measured it in front of my eyes. It was 13 feet tall, blah, 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 blah. Here's all the other details. And it was reported at least as far away as, like, Indiana. So this isn't just like somebody's guesstimate. Oh, I think it was 13 feet tall, and, you know, they may have just been scared assless and thought it was bigger than what. No, they actually shot this thing, and then they brought the town crier back and measured it.
Exactly. So this wasn't just somebody having a case of panic attack and overestimating everything. One of my favorite sports that I participate in is bass fishing, and I can't tell you the number of people say, man, I've got a 7 or 8 pound bass here in my live well. And you look at, you know, you open it up and you look and it's about a 5 pounder. Well, like I said, and that's the case that they're so excited. They're not necessarily meaning to lie to you. It's just their excitement tends to make them over exaggerate. But in this case, like I said, that you just mentioned, no, they actually brought the town crier in and it was actually that tall. So these things actually can exist that are that tall, you know, and that big. And
that's the other thing. Like you mentioned, this is the earliest one that we have, you know, good record for. Nearly 200 years ago. We're 9 years away from it being 200-year-old report. And what's the oldest first report we got? Well, a very unfriendly one. Got into a tussle with 9 humans, killed 5 of them, and the damn thing was 13 feet tall. Okay.
And one of the neat things about the Arkansas Bigfoot, everybody thinks, well, man, we didn't start having these daggum night investigations into Bigfoot until Finding Bigfoot came. No, the very first night investigation to Bigfoot was in 1851 by a Dr. Sullivan, coincidentally, of Memphis, and then a general named, I think it was Cross, here in Arkansas. So they actually put together and went on a nighttime Bigfoot hunt to try to find this Bigfoot that lived up around Crowley's Ridge, Arkansas. So I thought that was a pretty neat tidbit of history too there of this situation right there. And again, like you said, the next one that they saw, which is probably a place probably 50 miles from my home in Texarkana, in a place called Paraclifta. It was going across a frozen field, and one of these brave
genius trackers and chasers decides he's going to try to chase him down and rope him. Well, whenever he does, he gets a rope on him or throws a rope around him, and this thing charges, and it takes him off his horse. It gouges out one of his eyes. It bites through several times on his shoulder, and the report talks about it just made just a serious mess of this man. And finally, whenever it got through, it just jumped belly-wise across the horse and actually set up and took off running to the woods there, being chased by a bunch of a bunch of Choctaw Indians into the hills of Arkansas. So again, these things, these stories that you have, truth is stranger than fiction, but it was documented here. It was documented by 7 newspapers in the United States back at that time. And I don't know if you know much about Arkansas, but Arkansas doesn't get documented much in anything. And it was documented by 7 newspapers of this Bigfoot sightings that were going on right there. So I think that kind of adds to the credibility of it right there, because Arkansas, the first time wasn't even a state. Why would they be interested in a place that's just a wilderness? Well, because it had such a uniqueness to it and the truth to it that they decided it was newsworthy of other people knowing about. So that's been again just a little back history of what you and I have talked about. It didn't start with the Patterson-Gimlin film, back there in 1967. Didn't start in 1958 with Jerry Crew finding the things there, in the logging deal and naming them Bigfoot. It started actually back in the early 1800s. So this is something that's been around for a long time, and the stories are there. I had to really do some research to try to find these facts out, but when I did, I was just truly amazed. Getting back to where we left off there, I have a couple more interesting stories here. The week after I saw that Blackie walked by my camera, I came back up there to look around. Well, I find 7 different tracks this day right there around the same area in Ground Zero, and they're different tracks of different animals. So I take pictures of all of them. Again, coincidentally, I've sent them to you here to share with our listeners. One of them is a 6-toed track. I've never found a 6-toed track before, but I found a 6-toed Bigfoot track. So as I go down then to the end of the road to turn around, I get out and look. Well, there's 2 more tracks. They're not extremely big, but I go to cast them. Well, when I go to cast these tracks, man, all of a sudden the woods around me comes alive with brush popping, limbs snapping, some unnatural noises. And I'm like, oh my gosh, surely not. So anyway, I back my truck up to where my tailgate is down. I've got my plaster Paris right on my tailgate, right on top of these things. And I cast the tracks, but because they were so heavy, it took a little longer to set up. But when it finally sets up, I put them in the back of my truck. It's almost dark. I get ready to go back to Texarkana. I get about 60 yards away, and I realize I've left the lid off my plaster Paris, and it's going to just blow all out. So I pull to the side of the road there. I get out and put the lid on my plaster Paris. I look down to where I've just left, and there's the Bigfoot that has been down there making all the noise, standing right there in the edge of the wood line, and he's got his either an offspring or one smaller than it, and you see the cone head on one and kind of a rounded head on another. And so I sit there and watch these guys for maybe 20 to 30 seconds, something like that, and then the round-headed one disappeared, and I realized I wasn't going to try to drive back down there. But again, it was getting late, time for me to get home, so I just went ahead and left him. But I did get a picture of those walk-ups. Now, it doesn't really include a whole lot of face picture to it, but you're going to recognize the profile. You're going to recognize the cone head on that rascal, and it's really, really an interesting pick, because like I said, they sit there and watch it. These guys have been down there terrorizing me for 30 minutes, or not terrorizing me, but sitting there popping the brush and stuff. They couldn't wait to get in there and see what I was doing, and I
all kinds of curious, and you got to give Bear from the Bigfoot Outlaws credit for being the one that really popularized the saying that, we are Bigfoot's entertainment. We're their television set. They get all kinds of curious about what the hell we're up to, and we're very entertaining to watch, apparently.
Man, you're exactly right, and he hit it right on the head by saying that, because you would think that whatever they could be entertained by, as big as they are, entertained by what they want to, but evidently there is something about us that makes them curious to where they want to watch us, they want to observe. We've all heard the stories about observing the women and children and stuff like that, but I've had at least 3 of them out there in the field watching me, and I didn't know they were there. One of them, I was resetting my camera and I dropped it on the ground. As I bend over to pick it up, coincidentally, I'm looking out over this field, and when I drop this camera, this joker stands up out there behind this brush top, and so I'm looking at him, and I get my cell phone ready, on camera, and as soon as I stand up, I take a picture. So they're very intrigued by what we do. They do
go into look into people's houses. I've had one, I've sent you pictures before there, where the thing came up and put his hand on my windshield because I had my food inside here, and I'm watching a 8.5 foot tall Bigfoot with his hand on my windshield. I'm thinking, oh man, he's fixing to bust that windshield, and that's going to be $1,000. But he didn't do it. He just went, he went a little bit further away, and when he did, I lit up the outside. And with my spotlight, he took off running. He comes back 5 minutes later with 2 rocks and right outside the tent, being the pranksters that they are. Just like, no, you think you're going to get some sleep? Watch this. Whack! And he whacks it. And my buddy Randy Crawford actually has that recorded. Well, then he runs back to the woods. You can hear him running back to the woods. And then he goes across the river. He's like, whoop, 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 for about the next 30 minutes, and most of the other guys are in there sleeping and snoring so bad they're not hearing it. Well, man, I'm wide awake because of what I've just experienced. There ain't no way I'm going to sleep. And you can just see the Bigfoot over kind of laughing to himself like, yeah, I got you now. We'll see how well you sleep after all this. So
if he recorded the rock clack, did he get the whoops from across the river too?
I'm not sure if he did or not. I don't know if after, because it was probably a period of about 5 minutes after the rock clacks that we had a period of silence right there, the period that everybody talks about where all of a sudden things just get deathly quiet, and things got deathly quiet. So it's been, that was September 14th, 2018. And I think after that little bit of time that Randy leaned up and just turned his recorder off, and we went on to sleep. It was about 2:45 in the morning. We had been out squatching with a bunch of people. And we were squatching some of those mountain roads, walking up and down. We was pretty well tired and had been up there the whole day. So, but the way I remember, and I'll check and see if so. I'll try to get a download on that and send it in the next time to see if he's got those whoops. But the whoops were just incredible. I had a lady this year from Blanchard, Louisiana, and boy, she's got an eagle's eye and an eagle's ear. She's like Mary Boland. I mean, when she hears it, she knows it. Well, she sends me a recording, and then she goes, "Is this Bigfoot?" And boy, you hear these coyotes yelping and everything else like that, all the way through for about 40 seconds. And I said, no. I said, that's not Bigfoot. And you could almost sense her disappointment. I said, here's your Bigfoot. And I gave her the seconds count of this audio, and the seconds count about, probably every 15 seconds you hear whoop, whoop, and the thing is actually over there whooping. And I said, here's your Bigfoot right here. And so she sent me some stuff actually this last Friday night too. They got 2 recordings there, and of course, man, she's just tickled to it. And if she hooked, you betcha. That's what seeing a Sasquatch or having these kind of Sasquatch interactions does. That's how I got to be a researcher, as I've told before, man. I had to know more, and after she's gotten that, man, she's getting some real good stuff. So and I get tickled that hopefully maybe I've had something to do with adding that part to where she is getting the enjoyment out of Bigfoot hunting like what I am. So anyway, it's just
speaking of Bigfoot, Mary, the other half of the Texas Bigfoot Rangers, Michael, she found something in one of his pictures, right?
Man, she did. This is one of the most incredible pictures that I've ever seen.